It's Gorman in the morning with Fletcher and Ryder. Now, 92 KQRS.
Gorman in the morning, Minnesota's 92 KQRS. Happy Monday morning. I'm here with Fletcher.
Yes, you are.
I'm here with Ryder.
Harnessing the good energy, block out the bad. Harness, energy, block, bad.
It's just
That's
that
what we're
easy.
doing today.
Brilliant.
Let's do it.
I love that. That's
Big fan myself.
Yeah, that's a perfectly placed quote, Ryder. Excellent.
Kicking off Monday, kicking off the first week of June.
Oh, boy.
All right.
With a plum.
Yeah.
I think that word applies. Who cares? Listen, I'm feeling Minnesota. Let's get to the headlines. Fletcher, what's happening?
I feel like we're constantly seeking validation in Minnesota that we're the best, right? Well, USA Today's 10 Best has compiled a list of the best spots around the U.S. for summer travelers. Think about this. Minneapolis made the cut.
All right.
Come on.
Nice.
Publication says our combination of outdoor activities and cultural experiences as a reason to visit, highlighting our urban bike trails and water activities on the city lakes, as well as attractions like the Minneapolis Institute of Art, which is a beautiful place, by the way, Minneapolis Sculpture Garden, as well as our many outdoor art fairs and an impressive array of theater and iconic concert venues.
My response, duh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know what, though?
everybody who lives in Minneapolis leaves to go up north, so there's plenty of places for tourists to come in during the summer.
That's
Very
100%
good,
true.
Very good point.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what, though? I don't want people telling I want people to keep thinking of us as flyover country. Stay out. But it is kind of cool to
fair.
see a list of like Mackinac Island, Ocean City, New Jersey, Catalina Island, and then Minneapolis at number 8. It's crazy.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Hey, Taylor Swift has regained ownership of her first 6 albums, master recordings, purchasing them for around $360 million. She announced the news via her social media, calling it a long-awaited dream come true. She credited her fans the success of the Eras Tour as well as her re-recorded albums for making the deal possible.
Why?
Does 360 million seem low?
It does
to me, yeah.
It does. It also seems insane that anybody would ever mess with Taylor Swift ever again. She's going to win every time.
Yeah.
She's smarter than you.
Yep.
She's smarter than me.
She's playing the long
smarter
game
than
for sure.
everybody.
Yeah.
She will, if she continues at the pace, there's no reason to think she's ever going to stop. You know, it's inevitable. She's going to be the first artist to do stadiums with an acoustic guitar. Like, she'll go out just alone.
Yeah.
Like the way comedians do.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
give me a mic and a stool. She'll do that and play music. She'll possibly, if she makes it into her 70s, she very well might overtake McCartney for the greatest career of all time. She's number 2 already. It's Paul's the heavyweight champ.
Yeah.
And she's number 2, and she's 35 or something. It's
Right?
insane.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it finally gave a release of
Yeah.
anxiety in our household because my 12-year-old's been sitting around waiting for, where is Reputation, Taylor's version? Well, now we know why it hasn't happened because this has been going on behind the scenes. Stranger Things, 5th and final season, will be released in 3 installments around major holidays. The release schedule is Volume 1 on November 26th, Volume 2 on Christmas, and then the finale on New Year's Eve. The episodes will be available worldwide simultaneously at 7 p.m. our time. And by the way, the 5th season picks up in the fall of 1987. I cannot wait.
In your face, National Football League. Man, they're just really trying to give Roger Goodell heartburn.
Well,
Holy crap.
Does he get worried about anything? I mean, maybe are things coming down? I don't know, but
I'd be worried if I had to keep 32 billionaires happy. That'd just be me.
that's fair. Lilo and Stitch ruled the box office for a second straight weekend, is on track to be the biggest Hollywood hit of the year. $63 million more dollars, $610 million globally in 2 weekends.
Okay.
Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, around 350. So remember, we were talking about those two as a pair, coming up on $1 billion in 2 weekends.
Very nice.
Damn.
It's insane.
Very nice.
And for some, the school year is over. For others, it's about to end. And for this Florida mom, it's over sooner than the actual school year. Listen to what she posted on TikTok.
Do you make your kid go to school the last day of school? Do you make your kid go to school the last week of school? I don't make my kids go to school the last couple days of school. I don't see the point. Most of the teachers would rather you keep your kids home anyway, at least around
think
here.
that's true.
My parents, they made us go to school every single day, all the way to the very last day of school every year. I have cleaned a lot of desks. That is what we did the last week of school when I was a kid. So what was the point of sending me to school on the last few days of school? But I'm not doing that with my kids. Stay home, baby. It's summertime. Time to go.
I feel like every teacher I had came up with ones like, you're going to fail the entire semester if you don't turn in your books, like that sort of thing.
You ever
to
see
just keep you going all the way to the end.
You ever heard of that British documentary called 7 Up? They started in the early 60s or late 50s, and they looked at a bunch of kids who were 7 years old. And then every 7 years, they would check back in on them throughout their lives, and it went all the way well into their adult lives.
Okay.
Every 7 years. 7 years from now, those kids are going to be a mess, and 14 years from now, no one will hire them. There. That's my social scientist belt coming out.
1,000%. You know
what? You
what?
don't want to do it, honey? Then don't. You're special.
Yeah, summer's begun or whatever. She sounds like a moron. I'm sorry, but she sounds like a moron. My 8-year-old would kick my butt if I made her stay home from school. She's excited for the last week of school.
Man.
Yeah, you just coast on through, and it's your last chance to hang out with your friends who don't live within biking distance.
There's a natural resolution to the school year, which has a few days where you're not getting anything done. That helps. It's the perfect. I would hate to go cold turkey from finishing a hard test and then it's summer. No, give me those days of
just
very
coasting.
little happening. It's a big part of the setup.
100%. Alf Clausen, composer for The Simpsons for nearly 3 decades, passed away at 84 after battling progressive supranuclear palsy.
Oof.
It's hard to just say. Clausen's career began in Los Angeles, where he worked on various TV shows and films before joining The Simpsons in 1990. Scored over 560 episodes, got 21 Emmy nominations, and won twice.
Scored 560 episodes. That tells me that they didn't just keep replaying the same incidental music.
Right.
My man was writing a lot of music over the last 35 years.
I would imagine that it was probably subtle changes from times, but seriously, that's nuts, man. This is, speaking of nuts, I don't know that it gets any more nuts than this. Researchers in Japan have developed artificial blood. To be clear, this isn't fake blood like used in slasher movies. Instead, this stuff is actual, usable synthetic blood that can save people's lives without relying on blood donation programs. The blood, which they're calling hemoglobin vesicles, is composed of small artificial blood cells that are capable of delivering oxygen as normal. Would you guys be? I mean,
that is incredible. If that turns out if they go through all the hurdles and hoops and get clearance, that's human race changing.
Yes.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So would you question it? Would you be leery, or would you guys, if you needed it or a loved one needed it,
when you're laying there under your car and hoping the paramedics get there? I don't care what they're putting in me. Save my ass.
Jim Beam, whatever.
Yeah, whatever you got. My brother was the national sales director for a company that did synthetic skin.
Okay.
They took skin from pig cells and developed it, and it's for burn victims or people who have hernia surgeries or just reconstructive. A lot of people after cancer, you have just horrible scars, and this is like a lab-grown skin that changes people's lives. It still is an incredible thing to see, and this is like another step further, like actual blood that you create and then can save people. Yeah. Holy smokes, that's fantastic.
Well, they say if everything goes right, they could roll it out to the general public in the next 5 years.
Hooray! Science!
There we go.
I love science.
Me too.
That's what I got.
Big fan. Let's talk sports quickly. 3 consecutive days in Seattle. The Twins entered the 9th inning, trailing the Mariners. 3 consecutive days. By the time they got out of the 9th, the score was tied.
Yeah.
But they only got 1 win on Friday night. 2 straight walk-off wins Saturday and Sunday, so they went 1-2. The Twins are 31-27, smack dab in the middle of the division. 7 games behind the Tigers for first. 4 in a row at Oakland, then they come home for a home series this weekend. The Lynx are 7-0. Back off.
Start. Yeah, right.
7-0. They're still very much talking about all that they're doing wrong. That's what championship caliber teams do when they're 7-0.
Yep.
So, as you like to say, if you want winning basketball around here, check out the ladies. The Lynx are on a roll. The Loons won in Seattle on Sunday 3-2. They were 0-10 all-time in Seattle.
Okay, so
one of the great, a huge win, finally breaking through. Mid-season break for the MLS. They are in second place, 30 points after 17 games. This is the Loons' best record ever at this point in a season.
Wow.
Go soccer.
Yeah, and getting a win in Seattle. That was a franchise like right out of the gate that was really, really good.
Yep.
And so it's not shocking that's taken them this long.
After months of renegotiation, finally, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah has re-signed as the GM of the Vikings. That's good news. If you want to check all the pedigrees of winning teams in the last 30 years in the NFL, solid, stable ownership, consistency with the front office, coach, they all have to be on the same page. Owner, coach, GM, quarterback, that's your four. Okay, JJ, step up. We got the other three in place.
Yeah.
That's it. Lather, rinse, and repeat.
That's right.
That's just how that goes. Let's see. I'd like to give a little shout out here, if it's okay with you.
It is.
All right. Coon Rapids.
There
Love
we go.
you. Love you, Coon Rapids. Come on.
It's a good spot. I like the Coon Rapids. I've said it many times. We've biked to the dam when I was a kid.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah, it was fun.
Very nice. Hey, we had a great weekend, and it's interesting. Nothing better than learning new stuff. And I felt like I was given quite an education on Saturday.
Okay.
Nice.
10 feet tall walking out of that place.
Gorman in the morning. Coming right back. 92 KQRS. Streaming from 92KQRS.com. Gorman in the morning is back. 92 KQRS.
Gorman in the morning, Minnesota's 92 KQRS. I got to say, Saturday, Fletcher, you invited us. Ryder and I took you up on it, and man, I had an absolute blast at the big hockey fest up in Blaine.
That's cool to hear. I'm glad that you got so much out of it.
The Hendrickson Hockey Festival. It was first of all just walking in and watching sled hockey, which I've never seen in person before.
Yeah,
mind-boggling.
Yeah,
so inspirational, so impressive, so humbling.
It's a workout, dude.
Every possible emotion watching those guys and gals on the sleds playing hockey.
I just got goosebumps actually. Listening to you say that. Yeah,
it truly was. And then it was fun watching Ryder and our buddy Maggie Ferris, Extreme Maggie, in the sled race.
Dude, she almost won.
Maggie had it. They cheated her.
Maggie was doing incredible, and then I think it was Jake Middleton. I saw him come up on the video, and his wingspan, which I learned is key in doing this sled thing, is easily double, if not triple, Maggie's.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's not, no offense to Maggie, but it's not really fair to put professional athletes in a sled. I don't know what they're doing with that part. I have no say in that part of it, man.
I thought
both of them went down real fast.
You took the high road by just going ahead and giving up really quick. You were like, I'm going to let Maggie have her moment in the sun.
Yeah, for sure. No, it turns out that I'm friends with somebody who does the sled hockey. So I'm getting some tips for next year. I guess we were all holding our sticks wrong. And I was like, was I in the right size sled? And she was like, no, not even close.
Not even close. Yeah, right.
You know what, Ryder? 9 years ago, the first time I came in cold just like you two did to this whole thing. I didn't know hardly any. I didn't know the Hendricksons, nothing. And I was in a sled the first year, and you made it farther than I did, I think. I was face first. Yeah, it was brutal.
It was fantastic. And I do want to say, I don't want to skip over the headline here. In the celebrity game, dude, you look great on the ice. No, I mean, seriously, it's a whole new light. You know, I'm like, I've been sleeping on the athlete across the bench from me.
Well, I mean,
fantastic.
I'm not trying to do self-deprecating humor. This is honest and analysis. When you look at a guy like me that's got a belly and a gray old beard, you probably don't think, oh, this guy's going to be somewhat graceful out there.
Well, it's like those. I've seen those videos from Russia where they have bears on skates. It's what it looked like. You know, just look like a big black bear out there just rolling around. It was fantastic.
Picture Santa skating around, because that's what it kind of looks like.
It was awesome to see. And again, sincerely, thank you. It was an awesome time.
It was a blast. Yeah.
It was really, really cool.
It's how I left. That I went in there cold. Yeah. I played in the celebrity game. That year we did this sled race after the game, and so I was able to compete and do and be in both of those. And I walked away and I joined the board. Like, that's how. So I feel what you guys are feeling right now. Right. It's pretty amazing.
Hey, the KQ Talking text line is 651-989-ROCK. We're going to put together a Monday morning mixtape. How about this? Best songs for air drumming.
Yes.
Holy smokes. 651-989-ROCK. Let us know what you want to rock out to.
92 KQRS.
Gorman in the morning, Minnesota's 92 KQRS. Thank you, Bob Dylan.
Yeah, hi. Thanks.
Good to be with you on a Monday morning. Not a lot of drumming on that one, as in none.
No, yeah.
But I'll still air drum along. I'll play the track I wish I'd been able to play under that. I'm an air drummer. I'm a drummer, and I'm still an air drummer.
You are an air drummer?
Well, I'm an air drummer in my mind. I don't actually do it really all that. I'm not very animated, but I'm constantly drumming along to things.
No, you're like maybe the most boring air drummer I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Because you're playing the actual part,
well, sure.
which is not nearly as dramatic as actually air drumming.
No, I'm the worst person to have a conversation with this stuff about because, like, if you say, what's a great song to air drum to, I immediately will suggest something that will show you the importance of the drummer to the overall groove, but I don't even care about the drum part. It's all about feel. It's just like, no. Listen, see, do you understand why this guy's so underrated? And people look at me like, what's wrong with you?
Okay, so now here's the other question. When you're air drumming, are you thinking about parts that could have been, or are you just playing along with what's actually happening?
Well, if I'm thinking about parts that could have been, that's an indictment of what's there to begin with. So, you know, sometimes.
Yeah.
If I'm listening to if I'm listening to a Beatles track or a Led Zeppelin track or a Wilco track, no, because there's certain drummers that, like, whatever they play, you're just like, oh, that's the part. That's exactly what that should be.
Right.
Make it real simple on myself.
Fair enough.
Ryder, are you a bit of an air drummer? I don't recall seeing you winging the arms around in there.
Not so much in the studio because the microphone's in my face, so then I got to sing along. But if
then you can do your Levon Helm or your Don Henley. You know, you can be the singing drummer.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
you
hard.
get the hands going. You're still moving the mouth.
But if you put me, I don't know, at my desk and I've got my legs free, then I really like to do some of this.
Really?
The 4 kick drums, right?
That's insanity to me.
Yeah.
I'm a solo kick drum guy. My left foot is not here to play kick drum.
What about, like, it's just like driving a stick shift. You got to get the clutch going.
Well, yeah, but you know, there's a difference in anybody can work a clutch, but some people mess up the transmission, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's got to feel right. 651-989-ROCK is the talk and text line. We did get one text agreeing with you, Ryder. Although I think it was agreeing with you because it actually says pot for teacher.
Which is what every teacher wants on the last week of school.
Exactly. That's a whole different song with a whole different vibe. Pot for teacher. But several hot for teachers right there. Bang. Coming in.
Yeah. Got to get all 4 limbs going there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then second so far on the text line 651-989-ROCK. Let us know what you're thinking. A lot of Tom Sawyer. Man, that just jumped. Any Neil Peart song. Yeah. I'll go along with that.
I don't know too many people that can.
Are you making it too complicated?
Maybe. The older I get, the more I'm sort of, it sounds silly, but I'm like more blown away by him than ever. Like the audacity of his part. Just who wrote that part and then who decided, no, I'm actually going to play this part. I'm going to slide this in. I got 3 bars. I'm going to do an 8-bar fill and somehow it'll fit. He's just incredible.
I was going to say, can anybody really actually air drum with him? I don't know.
Sure.
Okay. What are do you two have picks or do you need a second to digest?
You know what? So Ringo is always my go-to because that's the first drummer I ever loved. Okay. The first time I ever air drummed is the first time I ever heard the song "Ticket to Ride." I just started wailing. Yeah. I was like, "What is that? What's he doing? What's he doing?" And that's when it all started. I was 5 or maybe 6, and I was like, I am a drummer.
Yeah.
This is it.
Nice.
The Beatles song "Rain." Is another one I will it's such a bizarre part.
Yeah.
And his fills make no sense. They go all over the bars, but it's just classic. It's the ultimate, like, nobody else could play in this band.
Sure.
You know, he's the guy who made 3 songwriters feel good about their song. Not 1 or 2, but 3. Right. George, Paul, John, anybody that wrote a song, he'd be like, yeah, I'll take care of that for you.
Yeah,
it's impossible, but it's a little inside baseball. See, I kind of know too much.
Yeah.
I don't just get the simple joy of listen to that.
Yeah.
For sure.
The one drummer of our recent generation who makes me feel that way, that where I'm like, as I feel like a kid air drumming, was the Nirvana version of Dave Grohl.
Okay.
Just Nevermind Alone.
Yeah.
All those parts are air drum. His parts are fantastic.
Yeah.
They all just fit. You could play them without the rest of the track, and anybody listening to the station would go, I know what song that is. So, credit to him. Fletcher, what do you think?
So here's the thing. What did I just tell you this morning? I've always wanted to be a drummer. I've just never done it, right? I've been around music and et cetera. So I went through a phase when I met my wife where it was just us and we're hanging out every night and we're just, you know what I mean? It was just us. We wanted nothing more than just to be together.
Right.
We would get down in my basement in Omaha and play Rock Band. And I always took on the drums because I wanted to, right?
Yeah.
And so all of mine come from that.
Okay.
Like I discovered playing Highway Star by Deep Purple is a blast.
Sure.
It's super dumbed down, rock band versions, but Gimme Shelter is cool.
Sure.
Sabotage Beastie Boys has been long before Rock Band, just because you got the tet-tet, tet-tet. But then I love the parts in Learn to Fly by Foo Fighters.
Sure.
That one, because I don't know what you call that, but it's like that dun 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 dun, and then he hits there's a little light cymbal at the very end of the run.
Okay, all right.
I love that. I don't know, there's something about that part that I just love. It's always got my attention.
Well, when a songwriter is a drummer, the drum parts tend to be a little bit more ornate.
For sure, 100%.
I'm going to build this bad boy up off the kit. 651-989-ROCK. Let us know what your favorite air drum songs are. And if you say Radiohead, I'm literally going to ask you to rethink that.
I think there's some good air guitar in this one.
A lot of great air guitar. One specific one. Air drumming, not so much. Also, a lot of, not surprisingly, a lot of Phil Collins in the air tonight.
Yeah.
It's a lot. You got to wait. You got to wait like almost 4 minutes probably. But once it goes, yes, it goes.
It's actually
3.5 or something.
It's as a guy who's done music in arenas, it is at 3 minutes and 37 seconds. Just so you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Because that's right, and it's the best, man. When you're at a sold out Frost or Wild game, and everybody in the crowd's arms are waving, it's the best.
I will. I've said this many times. I think it's the most impactful drum fill in pop/rock history.
Yeah, probably.
It's the biggest. It's the one everybody knows. Everyone waits for. It was so perfect. I mean, the first 5 times you heard that song, you were like, "Is it now? When's it coming? Is it now?" What an amazing worm Phil Collins put on the hook for that one.
And then Mike Tyson went ahead and made it relevant again in The Hangover.
Sure,
right? It was like that's when it kind of took off all over again.
Let's see. There's by the way, I was gonna say. Anybody, here's the real drummer talking. You want to get into the weeds and think about what it really takes to be a drummer?
Okay.
Just put on any live version of AC/DC, Let There Be Rock, and drum along to that.
Oh.
Because nothing happens except it just holds steady for like 15 minutes. Then and you just play it. Do that even air drum, and it's exhausting. Yes. Like there's a lot to be said for, the cool, fun stuff, but you want to get behind a kit and actually deliver something, do a little Let There Be Rock and get back to me. Mm-hmm. I did this gig in L.A. a bunch with a bunch of comedians and rock guys. We all play a bunch of AC/DC songs. Dean Delray and Bill Burr and Mark Maron, all these guys, and then a bunch of dudes from bands. And every year it's like, who's going to do Let There Be Rock? And every year I'm like, not me. I'm like the house. I play 2/3 of the set, and then I give up the kit for certain other songs. Uh-huh. And every year there's always some speed metal guy who's like, I'll take it. And I'm like, God bless you.
Yeah.
I don't have 17 minutes of my life to commit to that one groove. Bad Company. First song air drummed and first song played by ear on trap set. Right on. I like that one. Yeah, that's good. My first air drum song, Ticket to Ride. First time I ever sat at a drum kit, put on headphones and played along, Kashmir.
Oh, really?
A little something they called going into the deep end a little too soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't start with Bonzo and the headphones first time sitting at a drum kit.
Maybe just the Beach Boys or something simple like that for the first one.
Yeah.
Don't dive right into the Zeppelin.
Way better things you could do. We'll be taking back a look at these all morning. 651-989-ROCK. 61-year-old Kel Morris is a badass. Let's just leave it there, shall we? My man and his wife they were out for a hike in Alaska. Uh-huh. And they went several miles off the beaten path, if you will.
Yeah.
Generally, when I'm hiking in Alaska, I try to stay right near the beaten path. Yeah. That's just me. Well,
you're already off the beaten path if you're in Alaska.
Well, that's exactly right. So several miles off the beaten path, he and his wife are hiking, and all of a sudden, there's what they call a rock slide. And my man gets
pebbles?
Not so much. No, he ends up on the wrong end of a bit of a rock slide. Here he is briefly discussing what happened.
As it went down, and then it's a blur. I don't know what happened. I was tumbling. I landed in the water. I could hear that noise that large rocks make as they're rolling over each other. I landed up face down in the river, and then I felt the rock hit me in the back and pinned me down.
That rock that pinned him down was a 700-pound boulder.
Oh.
700 pounds is about 600 pounds more than your adrenaline will help you lift, like in a push-up form. Yeah. It's pinning you in the water, and you're going to have one good adrenaline, and push up and then roll it off. 700 pounds, that ain't happening.
No, that's not. But he's a Marine, so maybe that 700-pound boulder was breakfast on Tuesday.
It pinned him. He wasn't going anywhere.
Okay.
It was a call to the rescue squad.
Wow.
ATVs had to cut short about a mile away. They couldn't go no further. On foot, guys hiked in there. It took a while, as in a couple hours, for people to get to him.
Damn.
And he was rescued after laying under this boulder the whole time. Not paralyzed, no major catastrophic injuries at all.
I'm shocked he even lived through it. 700 pounds sounds like it would just crush every bone in your body.
You would think.
Former Marine, I should say. Not an ex-Marine. As I was told many times growing up by my dad, there's no such thing as an ex-Marine, damn it.
Once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine,
You want to call me a former Marine, we'll take it, but I'm a Marine. I'm like, you work at a bowling company, dude. You're a Brunswick man. Relax.
The other thing, too, is didn't he say, because it's not in the write-up, but in his audio, he says he's in a riverbed.
Oh, yeah, no, he was he was laying in water.
So, luckily, he was able to get his face out.
Yep.
To breathe.
Oh, yeah. But, I like the way that he said, well, I heard that sound. You know the sounds that the giant rocks make when they're tumbling down a hill.
No, I don't know that
I
sound.
know. No, I do my best to stay away from sounds like that.
Yeah, well, when he said that sentence, I'm already disconnected. Like, yeah, you're tougher than me just knowing what that sounds like.
So thankfully not one of those. It's not another 127-hour situation where he had to like cut his legs off to get it. Remember the movie 127 Hours? A true story where James Franco cuts his hand off to get out of that thing he was wedged into.
Just got the willies, by the way.
That's
up and down my spine.
I don't mind spoiling a movie that's 15 years old.
I guess that's fair. Okay,
that's gonna happen.
So he's going to keep retelling this story
forever,
over and over again. Does the boulder get bigger? Is he in there longer? Like, what happens every time he retells this scary, scary story?
Based on the Marines I know, he'll never embellish a thing. In fact, he'll undersell it.
Yep. That tracks.
They say 700 pounds. I think it was closer to 4 myself. It'll be like that. So that someone, oh, no, you're a badass, Dad. It's cool. No, it's a story he's going to tell forever. I imagine everybody's got at least one. Holy crap, I can't believe I got out of that story. There's got to be one time when you were truly scared to your wits' end, scared the life out of you. What's that story? 651-989-ROCK. We all got one. 651-989-ROCK. I got one. It involves a late-night trip to McDonald's, of all things. What? We'll be right back in about 5 minutes and 2 songs.
Gorman in the morning. Coming right back. 92 KQRS. Streaming from 92KQRS.com. Gorman in the morning is back. 92 KQRS.
We were just talking about a guy in Alaska hiking with his wife, rock slide. He gets pinned under a 700-pound boulder.
Unreal.
And has to wait for a few hours before he's rescued. Doesn't sound like he's too much worse for the wear, but that had to be a terrifying situation for my man.
He's like giggling through the story. It's crazy.
Here's him on the experience.
We'll take that flimsy, flaccid feeling and turn it into a rock-solid experience that's guaranteed to petrify your senses.
That's what I thought about that boulder.
Yeah. Man, I think about like times that I've literally like been scared to death, like the scariest things that you've ever gotten through. And then, of course, you tell that story forever.
Sure.
And there's 2 that come to mind for me. One's really not a story. I was just in a tent and I heard a bear outside the tent.
Oof.
I never saw it, but I heard it sniffing around and pawing and making guttural sounds. It was very clearly a bear right outside the little nylon tent I was sleeping in.
How did you know it was a bear and not just another drunk rock star?
Well, in the morning, the bear prints gave it all away. Like the group of us and the guy that was with us, like the expedition leader, was like, "Oh yeah, that's very much a bear." Everybody heard it. We all laid in our tents listening, no one breathing. Like, "Oh my God, there's a bear!" Just luckily nobody got swiped.
The snorts kind of give it away too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it was.
It's not a dog. It's like that's big.
It was big and loud and making noise and all that.
Enough to put poop in your pants.
But again, I never even saw it. I didn't dare unzip the tent and look out. I was just laying there waiting for that guy to go away.
Yeah.
But the ultimate for me. This sounds made up, and I've told this story, and people are like, "No way!" But it's entirely 1,000% true.
Okay.
1991 in Belfast, Northern Ireland. After a gig, me and my bass player and a guy from our record company were hungry, and the hotel didn't have a functioning kitchen.
That's the scariest thing I've ever heard.
Because a month before we got there, Queen Elizabeth was staying there, and the IRA bombed the hotel, and they blew out the kitchen, and they hadn't repaired it yet. So there's already that as the backdrop. Like, okay. So anyway, the guy at the front desk, it's 11:30 or so, and we're starving, and we said, "Man, does anyone have any food?" And he said, "There's a new McDonald's that just opened, and so they're open all night as a part of the first weekend of, business. All night long McDonald's." We're like, "Let's go." We get a taxi. Takes us right into the city center. Again, 3 of us in the cab. The guy pulls up, the cabbie, and in that incredibly impossible to understand Northern Irish accent where they say the word now like, "nair," he says, yeah, go in there. I'll wait for you. We were like, no, we'll get it. He goes, no. It'll be harder to get a taxi because it's on this plaza and it's just packed with college kids. Right. It's like the party. Everyone's out. It's after midnight when we get there, and it's just a banger everyone's having a great night celebrating late night McDonald's.
Yeah.
And so we said, we'll go in, we'll get our food to go. And the guy says, I'll wait, I'll be right here. We go, great. We go in, big crowd, takes 10 or 15 minutes to get our food. We come walking back out to get into the cab to go back to the hotel. And our cabbie he's not like crying, he's weeping as we get in.
Oh, damn.
And it's like a middle-aged man.
Okay.
And we're like, hey man, is everything okay? And he explains to us largely, this is a terrible night. This is still the troubles are happening in Northern Ireland. Okay. And it was a night where a bunch of cabbies had all been shot. Like, 3 Catholic Protestants, 3 Catholic cabbies and 3 Protestant cabbies were shot. Guy gets in the back seat and then takes you to his, so it was a tit for tat, they call that, murders. Yeah. And he had just gotten the report and he had lost a good friend. Oh, and he's explaining this to us. And we're just like, stunned, like, oh my God. And I said, man, we'll just get another cab. And he was like, no, you won't. I'm taking you home. Okay, sure. So we're driving and we're going along. We get away from the city center and it's kind of a dark street and we round the corner and we're suddenly awash in lights. The whole street has got these big floodlights and there's a British Army group of soldiers standing there checking cars. They're looking for taxis. They're out doing whatever they're doing because of all these shootings going on that night. Mm-hmm. And the car is surrounded by soldiers with their rifles. All of us in the back seat, we have that little red laser thing on our chest.
No.
And I'm sitting on one window and I'm looking at a soldier who's holding a rifle pointed right at me.
Oh my! All of my muscles are clenched right now.
It was just the cab stops and there we are, and and I'm like can barely breathe, and the cabbie's response is blind rage at these soldiers. He's going, "What are you doing?" He's yelling, "Put down your rifles! These are Americans!" He's just like, "This, what are you doing?" And the leader, like the sergeant of this guy, comes up and he leans in the window, and I look at this like the leader of these troops, and I'm like, this guy's like my age. He's like 24. He's not old.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I look and I can see the kid holding the rifle on me. He's probably 18 years old. And that's when I really got afraid, because I was like, that kid's more scared than I am.
Yeah.
Because he's probably from Sheffield or Leeds, and he's in Northern Ireland where he's expecting nothing but terrorism, which for good reason at the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, like I wouldn't say his hands were shaking, but just on the look on his face, I was like, this kid is more scared than I am. And the guy leans in and goes, "You Americans?" We're like, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you have your passports?" We're like, "No, we're going to McDonald's. They're at the hotel." And my bass player, Johnny Colt, from this time in the Black Crowes, he somehow remains calm, and he goes, "We're Americans. We're staying at the such and such hotel. We just played a show tonight. We're in a rock band." And the guy goes, "What's the name of your band?" And he says, "The Black Crowes." The guy goes, "Oh, I heard you." Really? And Johnny goes, "Yeah, can you put your guns down, please?" And then all of a sudden, the guy gave and they all dropped their guns, and the cabbie the whole time is still just cussing this guy up a blue streak. Like, what is wrong with you?
And you guys are probably like, "Hey, can you calm down?"
Yeah. I'm like, this isn't helping. And then they go back and forth. Again, the accents are a little thick and they're speaking fast. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden we take off and the cabbie goes, "I'm really sorry, lads." And we're like, "That's okay. We know you didn't mean to do that." And we got back to the hotel and walked into the lobby, and I had my McDonald's and I had no appetite.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I'm not really thinking I'm going to eat anything for a while.
Did
very stressful.
anyone eat the McDonald's?
I don't know. Okay. I know that I didn't.
Okay. We did a tour, our family, we did a tour of all of Ireland in 2023. And I'll just say, without going super deep on this, the tension still today between Catholics and Protestants in that country is, without being there, you can't fully understand and appreciate it. It's mind-boggling.
Stories that you still tell. Give them to me. 651-989-ROCK. We are discussing the scariest things that ever happened to you. Alex from Coon Rapids is on the KQ Talk and Text line. Alex, good morning.
Good morning.
What do you got for us?
Oh, so I was a few years ago, maybe 6 years ago, I was down in Guatemala, and we're leaving from one Airbnb to another Airbnb, and driving from there. The map has us, take the standard way or whatever. And the road kind of ended, and next thing we knew, we were kind of going through a jungle, dirt road jungle. And just my wife and I, and we come across these police officers just kind of parked in this jungle, doors open, feet up on the door. So they jump out and flag us down and start telling us that we have to pay them. But we didn't know we had to pay them. We couldn't translate. We don't speak Spanish. We had to call our previous Airbnb host to have her translate to us. And, they're talking to us. I don't know what they're saying. They're kind of pointing to their guns. And, what they ended up wanting is we had to pay them for protection to go to the next town. Of course, all we had, just being the tourists we were, was hundreds. But, Guatemalan hundreds, which is like 20 U.S.
Right.
So, as I pull out a lot of hundreds to pay this guy, I'm sure I was thinking, like, great, they're going to, shake us down for more.
Yeah.
But everything was fine. I paid them, and they followed us to the next town. And then after that, I hammered her down and took off, and everything was fine. But for those, it was extremely scary.
In that moment.
Tense.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's tough. Thanks for the call, Alex. I spoke to a buddy yesterday, a good friend of mine for years, and I said, hey, what was that story? I was just in the middle of this conversation. Long story short, he was in Indonesia in 2002 and got bit by a monkey.
What?
And he had not had rabies shots.
Oh, my goodness.
And he woke up the next day freezing cold, sweating like a dog. It was 110 degrees, and he's sweating nonstop, freezing cold. And the doctors where he was, they were like, well, we can start rabies medication, but if you're an American, I'd go back home and get that done. And he goes, well, how long do I have? And they said, when did you get bitten? And he said, the guy's looking at his watch, and he goes, can you get back to California within 36 hours?
No. Oh, my God.
And because I would recommend doing that, but you got to get there. You got 48 hours after the bite to start, and he was able to do it, but he flew home and it turned out he got the medication. They went through it. They determined it probably wasn't rabies. It was just something else he picked up from being bitten by a monkey in the jungle.
Okay.
But anyway, that whole story, I was just thinking about the idea that you get on a plane thinking, this thing better land on time, and I better get right to the clinic.
No
delays. That's pretty scary. We got a lot of these coming in on the KQ Talk and text line. We're talking about the scariest things that have ever happened to you, and I just had this thought of God, imagine getting stuck on an elevator with Billy Corgan. That'd be scary.
I'm sure it's fine.
I'm just saying.
Would be an awkward. It feels like that would be an awkward conversation trying to force.
Well, sure. I'm just a thought I had. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I don't feel like he would initiate. So if you
just
wanted it to be a silent elevator ride, I think you'd be okay.
651-989 Rock Scariest Stories. We've had some wild ones. This is a text from Christine, our old buddy Christine. Flight from Tokyo to Minneapolis on 9/11.
Oof. Oh, no.
Looked out the window to see an F-16 fighter jet out my window as we descended into Vancouver. We had no idea what was going on.
Oh, man.
The realization of that fighter jet and why it was next to us still shakes me. Yeah, I would imagine in real time when you look out and you see that, you're just like, what are we about to find out as soon as we can turn our phones on?
I wonder how long she was in Vancouver. Because they grounded flights for days.
Oh, days. Yeah. Worst place to be grounded. I mean, at least there's that silver lining. Yeah. Beautiful town.
With great Kobe.
Just trying to find something to say positive about that whole one.
Fantastic Kobe beef in Vancouver, by the way.
Oh, is that true? Okay. 651-989 Rock, KQ Talk and text line. We got Jamie from Champlin on the horn. Jamie, good morning.
Good morning.
Jamie, what do you got for us, brother?
Grizzly bear encounter.
Oh, I'm already scared.
Yeah. So about 8 years ago, I was out hiking in Glacier Park in Montana. I've been there a few times before that and kind of expected to see bears, but more from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
So we're probably, after about 8 miles of hiking, we were heading back towards our start trailhead, and we were about 3 miles away. And this is all mountainous and kind of windy through the mountains, and it was getting kind of late. We're the last guys on the trail, I believe. So all of a sudden, there's called switchbacks where you kind of go back and forth, so you're not going steep.
Right.
And he comes running by me with his eyes bigger than I've ever seen him. He goes, there he is. I had no idea what he's talking about. I keep walking a few more feet, and of course there's this big old grizzly bear walking down our trail, staring. And he's looking at me.
Oh my
God! So I kind of backed away, and then I got around the corner and I took off full steam, and he was already a quarter mile down the trail, and then. So we just kept running, because we were out of sight at that point. But he was then we went far enough we could see him still coming down the trail. And then luckily a park ranger came by, says, yeah, there's a grizzly up there.
Oh, yeah, you think?
No.
Yeah.
So we felt kind of relieved that we were going to get escorted because he says, well, we're just going to wait till he gets off the trail. And then, like they said, yeah, we're fine. But as long as I don't think he had a gun with him, but he had some bear spray.
God.
And so, yeah, that was like a thing where they say your whole life flashes in front of you. It was more like all the blood just like dropped from my head into my toes at that point. That was like, it was one of those things where that like literally like stopped my heart for like a second.
Sure.
It was like, yeah.
Yeah, no.
So that was,
it was.
But we survived it.
Okay.
Yeah, you did. Jamie, thanks for the call, brother. We appreciate it.
Yep.
I got a tingle all the way up and down my spine as he said that.
Oh, yeah.
Holy buckets.
Oh, yeah. No, I've come across deer and been like, ah! Just for a split second. They're bigger than you think.
Yeah.
And you're like, that thing could do some damage if he wanted to. Well, if I saw a grizzly bear, it'd be over.
I could totally relate to, or not relate, but understand like why his buddy's like, he's there. Because your words are probably frozen in that moment. Just kind of come up with what he's actually seeing and describing it.
That's exactly right. 651-989-ROCK. Vicky from Savage is on the horn. Vicky, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We're great. Thank you, sister. What have you got for us?
Okay. Back in 1993, this is the only time that I went towards the light that I can actually remember.
Okay.
I was a paramedic in Los Angeles in West Hollywood for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And with 20 minutes left of our shift, they took all available units to go down to the Malibu fires. And so for the next 3 days, we sat in that smoke, handing out sandwiches and bringing people with burns and evacuating people. And at the third day, when we finally came out covered in ash, I called up Northwest Airlines at 6 o'clock the next morning, and I said, how far away from Los Angeles can you get me? And how much is it going to cost me?
Yeah.
And it was $640, and I went to London for 24 hours. And all I wanted was a Planet Hollywood jacket. But mind you, all I had with me was an overnight, like a duffel bag.
Okay.
On my way home, I forgot. I had been to Europe once. I forgot that they stand there with their, the rifles and the batons and the Royal National Guard. And they asked me what I was doing there. And I said, I'm just here to get a mental health break. I just need a break. And they held me for the better part of 5 hours questioning me why I was in for 24 hours. They thought I was bringing back...
Sure. I think we lost you, Vicky.
I honestly didn't think I was going to get home.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty rough. Vicky, thanks for the call. We got a bad connection. We're going to move on.
They thought Vicky was a drug mule.
Yeah, that's exactly what they thought.
That's crazy.
Oh, that's rough.
Wow.
By the way, I was in L.A. right after those fires and went out there and took a look. And, man, I remember very clearly that. Vicky, well done being on the front lines of that situation, man.
100%.
That is absolutely brutal. We've got do we have another call, Ryder? I'm seeing.
Yeah, let's check in with Jackson.
Jackson, what do you got for us, brother? Good morning.
Good morning. So in 2019, I was on a study abroad in Europe, and I was there with a friend, and we were going to go up to Stuttgart, Germany.
Uh-huh.
And when we went up to Stuttgart, we were going to visit a friend, and her friend was going to take us out to some bars. So late one night, we get to some bars in downtown, and there's no spots in the bar, but after waiting a while, we see a group of large men get up from this table and leave. So us and all of her friends all hop on this table. We're sitting down, having our drinks and having a good time and everything. And then the men come back, and we're like, oh, we can move, sorry. Some Minnesotan coming out, and that's, I guess. And then they said, no, it's okay. So we all scooch over, and I start talking to the guys, and I'm trying to speak German with them. They can barely speak German. We come to find out that it's better if we just speak English. And I learned that they're Russian.
Oh.
So we're having a nice conversation about what America versus Russia is like and everything. And eventually the guy next to me, he puts his arm around me, almost like in a chokehold, but like a weird side hug, but around my neck. And he says, I really like you, man. I want to show you something. And he points at his friend and says something in Russian. And the guy pulled down his shirt, the collar of his shirt. And at this point, I knew what was going on, but I was so scared I didn't even really look. I just saw a shape. It was a star or a triangle or something. And he looked at me and he said, "Do you know what that means?" I said, I didn't say yes, but I had a good feeling. But I said no. He said, "That means he's a part of the Mafia." And I sat there for a good 5 seconds in silence, just pondering what I would do. I felt all the blood leave my head. I thought I was going to pass out, maybe peed myself a little bit. But then I said, okay. And me and my friends got up and left.
Yeah.
And all was good. But scared me to death.
That'll do it. Yeah. That'll do it. Thank you for that one, Jackson. Yeah. All right, then.
He said, "Hello, brother. Here's the thing."
Oasis going on tour this summer. Liam Gallagher had his 2 front teeth knocked out by a Russian mobster in a bar in Munich. Same kind of thing, hotel bar.
For real.
Started chirping. And thing about Russian mobsters, they don't care if you're an Oasis.
Mm-hmm.
The best part of that story is the next day Noel was told, and they said, "What did you feel like when you heard your brother had 2 teeth knocked out?" He said, "I've never been more jealous of anyone in my life than the guy that threw that punch." That's why they're the funniest band in rock history. 651-989-ROCK. We got David on the horn right now. David, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
All is well on this end. What have you got for us, brother?
Okay, all right. This is a good tale for you guys. Like about 15 years ago, a bunch of my college buddies and I, we all went on a week-long snowboard ski trip out to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And like after 3 days of great snowboarding and stuff, we took one day off to rent cross-country skis, and we were going to ski into Yellowstone National Park to this area where there's a hot spring. It's called Huckleberry Hot Springs, and it flows into this little river. And all the locals will go there and they go skinny dipping, right? So we're like, yeah, let's just go there, you know. And of course, my buddy's like, there'll be chicks there. We're like, yeah, okay.
Yep.
So we cross country ski in, and we're getting closer to the place where the hot springs are. And we noticed there's this like really big, big horns on it buffalo sleeping, right? Like a couple 100 yards away. And my buddy who lives there, he's like, don't get too close to the thing, man. Like more people die from buffaloes here in Yellowstone than anything else. Yeah. And so we kept our distance, and so we go and we get naked and we're sitting in the hot spring and stuff, and there's these little annoying fish that are nipping at our manlyhood. But anyhow, we're cracking some beers and we're just kind of getting relaxed and just enjoying our day. And we noticed this other group of skiers, 2 guys, 2 girls, was starting to come towards the hot spring, but they decided to go really close to this buffalo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, they woke the buffalo up, and I just see my friend's eyes get gigantic, and he looks at me, he goes, "Holy buffalo!" And this buffalo comes like charging at us, right? And so we're all like, "Oh my gosh, like it's coming at us to kill us." So we jump out of the creek, so we're on the other side of the creek from this buffalo, and there's waist-deep snow in every direction. We're completely naked. There's no trees in sight, so we're just like, okay, don't be the closest thing to this buffalo. And so the buffalo comes, it stares us down, it starts kind of like stomping its feet, like this thing's ticked off, like it's being very territorial at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so it runs a little further down the creek where it gets really narrow, and now it jumps to the side that we're all standing on. We're like, oh, crap. So now we start scurrying across the river the other way. Some people are grabbing their skis like they're going to fight this buffalo and stuff. And eventually the buffalo goes a little further down, and we see it, like, bucking, and it's, like, stomping the ground, doing all that territorial things, that's basically saying don't come in my area.
Sure.
And so eventually, this thing comes back over. It jumps to the other side of the creek, so now we're all scurrying across the other side, and we're, like, on the top of the bluff staring this thing down. I just see the headline in my head, just like, college students gored naked by buffalo at Huckleberry Hot Springs.
Yeah.
So this buffalo came, it stared us down the other side of the river, and then eventually it just ran and it took off, and just left us. Our jaws are dropped. We're just like, what the heck? And so eventually this other group of skiers comes up, the 2 guys and 2 girls, and I was like sitting there naked. I'm like, did you guys just see what happened? That was crazy. And this guy looks at me, he goes, I don't know, buddy, but all I saw were a bunch of pale white asses running around.
Yeah, sure. God, that'll work. That's a good one, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for. Appreciate you taking the time to share that one with us.
There you go.
Yeah, appreciate it, David. Thanks, man. Don't mess with the bison.
Yeah,
let them be.
They're big.
Yeah,
they're big.
Yeah.
Hey, when I was a kid, grew up there's bison in the state of Kentucky, oddly enough, and there's a few state parks and they have bison there. You can get real close to them, but they're separated by barbed wire. They won't cross through there. But like I've walked right up and slapped the side of a bison before, and the dust flies off of it. Mm-hmm. They're standing there. They're pretty docile for the most part. but that's across a barbed wire fence. I mean, it was like, but this is a true story. When I was a kid, and this got the rounds, it was like the urban or rural legend that turned out to be true. Real simply, it was a family from Syracuse, New York, dad, mom, 2 kids. They were in this park, the Pennyroyal State Park, and he saw a bison, and he climbed over the barbed wire and went out because there was a bison just laying in the dirt like asleep, and he picked its head up by the horns so his wife could take a picture of him. No. And the bison stood up and gored him to death right in front of his family. And so that was like the last time I thought I'd slap a bison on the side. Yeah.
Holy buckets.
Leave them alone. They're bison.
There's a herd of bison that live out that either are owned or live right out by where we drive by them to go to Monticello all the time. And I think after that story right there, that's as close as I'm going to get.
Fun fact about bison, they have no sense of humor.
No?
Yeah,
none at
clearly.
all. No, very serious. They're still pissed off about everything that went down a couple hundred years ago out there.
I bet.
Those stories are passed down from generation to generation, just like ours. Make no mistake about it. All right, we're feeling Minnesota. Give us a few minutes and a couple songs, and we'll give you the headlines.
Gorman in the morning. Coming right back. 92 KQRS. Streaming from 92KQRS.com. Gorman in the morning is back. 92 KQRS.
Gorman in the morning with Fletcher and Ryder on Minnesota's 92 KQRS. Good morning, June. It's Monday, June 2nd. How did that happen already? I'm feeling Minnesota, Paul Fletcher. What's happening out there?
It's going to be feeling June today, too. Aren't we getting like 88 or something like that?
92, buddy.
What?
Yeah.
Today?
Yes.
God, the things you learn when you wake up early.
Guess what I'll be doing today? In the house all day long.
Attaboy.
I feel like we're constantly seeking validation. That Minnesota's the best. Well, USA Today's 10 Best has compiled a list of the best spots around the U.S. for summer travel, and Minneapolis made the cut. It's crazy.
Okay.
The publication says our combination of outdoor activities and cultural experiences as a reason to visit, highlighting our urban bike trails and water activities on the lakes. We've also got, the Art Institute and the Sculpture Garden and our iconic music venues, etc., outdoor fairs, and, dive bars with great beer, right?
Oh,
Sure.
yeah. I feel like we just maybe have too much cool stuff to do. It gets to be overloading.
There is a thing that you said about, always looking for that validation.
Yeah.
There's a Minnesota thing, because when I first got here a few years ago, and people would be like, so why'd you come here? Like from Nashville? That's like the hippest town in the world. I'm like, well, blah, blah, blah. But I'd say, I've always loved it here, man. It's great. And I'd give my reasons for why this was so attractive to me. And people would say, really? And I'm like, yeah, I hate to tell you, it's an awesome city, guys. I don't know, but then they're like, oh, we know that. We just didn't think anyone else would know that. It's like, no, it's a banger. It's a good place.
I can remember the 90s when Seattle was everything, and I can remember Chris Cornell himself saying, we're not like, Athens or Minneapolis or, what I mean? Like,
yeah, of course.
No, people look at us, it's cool, but we're still looking for that. Anyway, the top 3, Mackinac Island, Ocean City, and Catalina Island, and then in at number 8 is Minneapolis. Pretty cool.
Ocean City, New Jersey?
Yeah.
Okay. Not Ocean City, Maryland.
No, Ocean City, New Jersey.
All right. Fair enough.
Taylor Swift has regained ownership of the first 6 master recordings of her albums, purchasing them for around $360 million. She announced this on her socials, calling it a long-awaited dream come true, crediting her fans the success of the Eras Tour as well as her re-recorded albums for making the deal possible.
A long-awaited dream come true for 5 years. When did she lose her masters? It wasn't that long ago.
No,
it's
it hasn't been that
15 years ago.
No. It's kind of fun. You know what, though? She does have a tendency for the dramatic.
She likes to add a little spice.
She does, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'll say it. I love her to pieces.
Get out of the way.
That's right.
Don't cross Swift, man.
Yeah, dude, she's she's a Swift business person. Alf Clausen, composer for The Simpsons for nearly 3 decades, passed away at 84 after battling progressive supranuclear palsy. Clausen's career began in Los Angeles, where he worked on various TV shows and films before jumping in with The Simpsons. 1990, he scored 560-plus episodes of The Simpsons, earning 21 Emmy nominations along the way, and he won twice. Here's the best part. Matt, is it Groening? That's how we say it, right?
Groening.
That's right. Convinced him to join The Simpsons by describing it as a drama with drawn characters, not just a cartoon.
That's great.
Yeah.
I got a letter from Matt Groening once.
Oh, Oh,
wow.
Yeah, I gave an interview in like Modern Drummer and just referenced The Simpsons a couple times for whatever reason. And he obviously saw it. And this letter came thanking me for the kind words. And as he signed it, he drew a Homer. I have an original Homer.
Oh,
What?
nice.
Oh, it's framed.
Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
You should
No, I
call
was
Rick.
like, oh, my God.
You should call Rick and the Pawn Stars.
I got an original Homer right here. Hell yeah.
Researchers in Japan have developed artificial blood. To be clear, this is not fake blood like they use in a movie. Instead, this stuff is actual, usable, synthetic blood that can save people's lives without relying on blood donation programs. They're calling it hemoglobin vesicles. It's composed of small artificial blood cells that are capable of delivering oxygen as normal. They're starting tests this year, and if all goes right, they say they could roll it out to the general public. Get this. In 5 years.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Bring it on, man.
Yeah, you don't need donors.
That's a legitimate game changer for the human race.
Could be.
Sure.
100%.
My God.
Crazy.
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah, it is.
Go, science, go.
Kids and teens, this is kind of a revisit of a story that we talked about a while back, but kids and teens who need a free meal this summer can get fed by Minneapolis Public School District starting next week. Mm-hmm. The annual program gives meals and snacks to people under the age of 18, and it starts June 9th through August 29th. So I thought we'd go back to this. Remember, kids do not need to be students of the Minneapolis Public Schools to get fed. No sign up is needed. You can download the free Meals for Kids app, or you probably just use Google to get specific locations and times throughout the summer. Yeah.
Excellent.
Becoming Led Zeppelin, the authorized documentary about the iconic rock band. It's going to premiere on Netflix June 7th. Is that this Friday?
That is.
Yeah.
Holy moly. Yeah, it's coming quick. Director Bernard McMahon says he spent 5 years researching and compiling archival footage and interviews with all the main members. Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, John Paul Jones. The film also features a previously unheard interview with late drummer John Bonham. So there you go. I just saw that.
Worth your time.
Okay.
Have you've seen it?
Yeah.
Even if I'm not going to go see it in the IMAX with all the craziness, just on my regular TV, it'll be okay?
It'll be just fine.
All right.
It'll be just what the doctor ordered.
Nice that Netflix makes it accessible to even more people, for sure. And speaking of Netflix, Stranger Things' 5th and final season will be released in 3 installments. They just announced this yesterday around major holidays, actually. Volume 1 will drop November 26th, Volume 2 on Christmas, and the finale on New Year's Eve. The episodes will be available worldwide simultaneously at 7 p.m. Now, I'll tell you what, the Fletcher household cannot wait. We're all big fans.
I like Netflix looking at the National Football League and going, oh, you think Thanksgiving and Christmas matter? Yeah, okay, watch this, dude.
I thought Netflix had a Christmas game or something.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
Something was going on.
That's interesting.
It's the ultimate flex.
That's interesting, though, to see who will win, the NFL or Stranger Things. I mean, Stranger Things is a massive deal. It picks up, by the way, for fans, picks up in the fall of 1987. Cannot wait.
A great time in my life, the fall of 87.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
So it was a pretty good year, too, because the Twins won a World Series.
Did you get to go to an alternate universe?
Kind of, yeah, for the first time.
Nice.
Mushrooms are fun. Anyway, moving on.
I was wondering where you were going with that. For some, the school year's over. For others, it's about to end. My kiddos are in their last week this week. For this Florida mom, it's over sooner than the actual school year. Here's what she posted on TikTok.
Do you make your kid go to school the last day of school? Do you make your kid go to school the last week of school? I don't make my kids go to school the last couple days of school. I don't see the point. Most of the teachers would rather you keep your kids home anyway.
No, they wouldn't. They want you there all the way through.
She goes on to explain, it's just a waste of time. Okay, your kids are getting a wonker of a lesson right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but it is just movie watching and desk cleaning. So if the kids want to miss out, why do we really stop them?
Because you know what? Because you're teaching your kids that when they go get a job one day and it's like, well, it's Friday. I don't need to go to work on Friday.
Have you looked around here on a Friday, man?
Yeah, and I'm judging all of our coworkers here on the air.
1,000%. My kiddos will have instilled in them that when you start something, you finish it.
That's right.
And both of them would kick my butt because this week is a blast for them. And my 8-year-old, I tell you right now, my 8-year-old is going to come home Thursday in tears.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ward Cleaver, right there.
There we go.
Award-winning papa. I like it.
Yeah, sure.
Let's talk sports. The Minnesota Twins are 31-27. Again, considering where they started the season after the first month, this is really good baseball.
Yeah.
The team has been rattling off as of late. They did drop 2 of 3 in Seattle over the weekend, but they're back home this weekend against the Blue Jays. They got 4 against Oakland out west. Then they come home for 3 against Toronto. Better result in Seattle for the Loons. Yesterday, for the first time ever, after going 0-10 in Seattle, the Loons beat the Seattle Sounders 3-2. Shocking. Mid-season break right now in the MLS, and the Loons are tied for second place, their best ever total at this point in the season. So that's a pretty good soccer team.
Heck yeah. That's a fun place to watch a game, too. Allianz Field is a great place to watch soccer.
The Lynx are 7-0. Back off. They're badass, as per usual. And the Vikings, good news, they have locked down Adolfo Mensa to be their GM. Again, a contract extension. When the GM and the coach and the quarterback and the owner are all stable and steady and everybody's on the same page, that is a recipe for winning football. So I'm happy to see that. He's had a few swings and misses with the drafts, of course. Name a GM who hasn't. But most importantly, everybody being on the same page, continuity is very, very, very key with an NFL team that's growing the way the Vikings are, the culture that it's growing the way it is.
Yeah.
So I'm all for that. Hey, by the way, I need to remind everybody, Friday, June 20th is the KQ Karaoke Cruise with Paddleford River Boats. That's Harriet Island in St. Paul. Drinks with your buds. That's us from KQ. We are offering karaoke and free food from Lucky's 13.
Nice.
Sponsored by Dennis Kirk. Go to 92kqrs.com and get your tickets. Why don't you?
We've got 2 karaoke rooms, right? 2 karaoke's like a competitive and then just one that's for fun.
There's the half-assers, and then there's the I'm taking the cheese home with me. Yeah.
I mean, the half-assers don't really half-ass it.
No, they really don't.
They still go full hog.
Yeah.
Full hog. I love it.
Yeah. No, it's pretty funny. You think like, oh, this is the room where it's just fun, and you're like, oh no, they're going for it.
But they're having a great time.
They are. That's the whole point.
I love it.
We're all going to have a great time. We got a Monday morning mixtape we're going to get back to. Greatest songs to air drum to. 651-989-ROCK. Let us know. Best air drumming songs. Hit it.
92 KQRS.
Gorman in the morning on Minnesota's 92 KQRS. Good Monday morning. It is June the 2nd. Out in Washington State, way out west in Washington State, a truck overturned on the side of the road, which is never a good story. You know right away when there's a truck overturned.
No, the logs roll everywhere. Things just get crazy.
The logs go everywhere.
Yes.
This, however, was not a logging truck. This was a semi that was carrying millions of bees.
Oh, boy.
Honeybees.
Honeybee, okay.
They cart those around in a freaking semi?
Yeah, and the original report from the sheriff's office in Whatcom County said 250 million bees had escaped.
Geez.
That's 250 million bees.
That's a lot of bees.
And then a few people that saw that were like, oh, well, hold on a minute. They started doing the math. Then they updated a few hours later. This is like my favorite correction in a while. Initial information on the number of bees on the rollover was inaccurate. We have since learned that a more accurate total is closer to 14 million. From 250 to 14. Now, however, 14 million is still a crap ton of bees.
That's a lot of bees.
To just spring loose at one place at one time. 14 million bees. But, of course, beekeepers were on the scene trying to wrestle them all back into where they need to be.
All right.
When they said 200 million bees, they meant it. So when I heard that this had happened, we thought, well, we got the suits. Let's go and see what we can do and help. So we're basically one by one rebuilding the beehives over there, putting the frames back in and then having to stack them.
It calms them down with the smoke. Sometimes it works. When they're really angry like this, it doesn't really work too well. We've had a number of the beekeepers. They've gotten stung as well as a couple of our deputies.
So we have the suit. So then they just go friggin' help out?
Just because you have the bee suit doesn't mean you know what to do once you put it on.
Here's my question. Are they actually, they were piping in the bee sounds for that interview, right?
Sure.
They're not standing in the middle of bees having a conversation.
Maybe. Who knows? There's 14 million of those little suckers you got to get back into the hive.
Yeah, that noise carries. They could be, 50 yards away and you'd still be hearing that kind of a buzz.
I suppose, is there 14 million? I suppose you could be a safe distance and still hear them.
I'm just remembering. I follow an account on Instagram. It's some woman in Texas who just is rescuing beehives all the time, and she narrates her own videos, and it's constantly her putting her hand right into a hive and pulling it out with it's covered in bees. And she talks like this. It was another day of saving the bees. Anybody that's ever seen it knows exactly what I'm talking about.
You have to keep that calm voice so you
That's
don't
exactly
freak the
right.
bees out, right? Okay.
I've seen between 12 to 15,000 bees at one place. And let me tell you something. That's 12 to 15,000 more than you ever need to be around.
Yeah.
So 14 million is kind of unfathomable to me.
Yeah.
The 12 to 15,000 I saw were in my bathroom.
What?
And they weren't honeybees. They were yellow jackets.
Man.
What?
They were wasps. Oh, yeah.
Wait a minute.
Oh, yeah. 30
Okay.
years ago this month. 30 years ago this week. First week of June, 95. Moved into a house. We're unpacking several days. Me and Rosemary got like a week to get the whole house set up before I leave to go to Europe for 6 weeks.
Okay.
And the night before I left, we were hearing this weird noise, early evening, house, not a sound, quiet. And you just heard this noise. Like it sounded like somebody rustling a newspaper from a distance, but it was weird. And I was like, is it in the attic? And I went up to the attic, nothing there.
Okay.
I was listening to air vents. You could just hear it in the house. Long story short, I found in the ceiling over the bathtub in the master bedroom, it was like a drop ceiling with the lights that are up in the ceiling. What do you call those? Recessed lights.
Yeah.
There was an AC vent right near that ceiling, and I stood up on the side of the tub, and I got my ear to the vent. I'm like, it's not here. It's not in the vent. What is this? And I'd been this is an hour into me trying to figure out what's in my house before I leave the country for 6 weeks and leave a woman and a dog and a cat alone here. And so I was touching the ceiling on this drop ceiling. I'm just touching it with my hand, and I'm like, Rosemary's in the master bedroom, right off the master bathroom. She's just sitting on the bed, and I'm like, yeah, the ceiling's kind of damp here. That's weird. And my thumb just went like up into the ceiling, right through the drywall, without a lot of pressure. And I pulled my thumb out, and out came 3 yellow jackets right away. 1, 2, 3, and I jumped off the tub. And I jumped out of the bathroom, slammed the door behind me, but 3 of them had gotten out, and they went right to the window in the bedroom because it was dark in the house. We didn't have lights on, but there was still some sun. They went right to the light, which was the window. Okay. And I rolled up a good old-fashioned copy of Sports Illustrated and smacked all 3 of them really fast. Dead.
All right.
Okay.
And I said, when I first pulled my thumb out, it's bees. But I said it like, it's bees, because my voice went through the roof. Not because I don't like getting stung as much. I mean, no one likes it. But Rosemary's allergic to bee stings.
Ooh.
So when my thumb
wife.
came out of the ceiling and 3 wasps came out, I went, oh, my wife's about to die. And I said, get out, get out. So she ran to the front of the house, took the dog, and they ran to the front of the house to the porch. And went outside, and I had shut the door behind me to the bathroom, so it was sealed off.
Okay.
And then I walked into the backyard where there's like a bay window over that bathtub, which like with the slatted, you could look in. Mm-hmm. And I looked into my master bedroom, my master bathroom, which I had been in for 3 or 4 days total, and it looked like a horror film. It was just, you couldn't see anything for all the bees. Like, again, thousands of bees in my bathroom.
Oh, no.
All just because I put my thumb through the ceiling into where they had a hive going, a nest. And I just about fell over dead because I thought, oh, my God, we have to burn the house down.
Yeah.
How do you get rid of, and I knew they aren't like carpenter bees or honeybees. These were wasps. I was like, how do you get rid of this? And I have to leave tomorrow, and Rosemary's going to have to live in a hotel, and holy crap. And long story short, called a bee, as he called himself, eliminist. And he showed up and took care of it that day. They were gone the next day. I mean, he dealt with it in a way that was just beyond my comprehension.
What about the ceiling?
Had to get a little repair work.
Okay.
Wasn't a big deal, but this is the part that really freaked me out. He said, this is 12, maybe 15,000 bees. And he said that nest would double in size every week.
Oh, no, really?
And I said, because the house had been vacant. We bought the house, and it had been unoccupied for 3 months. And he said, that's what it was. People moved out, no action. They found a little slat outside in the roof somehow. If people were in here, they wouldn't have settled. These wasps would not have come into the house if it had been occupied. But because it was vacant, they got in here and built it. And I said, what do you mean it would have doubled in size? He goes, well, he goes, well, you would have had 30,000 next week and 60,000 after that. I go, yeah, but I mean, what would have happened? And he goes, well, it would have never gotten that big because eventually the weight, it would have just fallen through the ceiling.
Oh, great.
So flash to my wife taking a bath. Hey, I'm just going to get a bath. And Steve's in Europe, and I'm just going to relax. And then then it's a horror film.
Yeah.
And then she stops answering my calls, and then this all goes through my mind immediately. Yeah. So then she's stung a million times, and she's gone, and probably so's the dog, and so are the cats, and all this. And then I'm calling home back in the old days, and no one answers. Finally, I call a friend. Hey, go to the house, see if everything's okay. And they open the door to a house full of bees.
Right.
It would have been like a Lifetime movie.
It would have been, and the 30 to 60,000 by then would have been 120.
Yeah,
and then 240.
It's just so horrifying.
Oh man, I can't imagine the horrible, boring person that would have played you in a Lifetime movie.
It would have been Cusack back in the 90s. Okay. Yeah, Cusack.
I was thinking Buddy Hackett.
That's my guy.
I'm kidding.
Wow, from Cusack to Hackett. Well, we'll see.
I'm teasing.
That's all right. All right, the last word for Monday, June the 2nd.
Yeah.
The tortoise and the hare, Aesop's fables.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't how fast you start. It's all about slow and steady, man. Win that race. Slow burn.
Sure.
Okay, Barbie last year when opening weekend, 4,243 movie screens carried Barbie right out of the gate.
Okay.
Mission Impossible, the new one, 3,857. Let's go back to 1977. How many screens did Star Wars hit first weekend, Ryder? Guess. Barbie had 4,200. Mission Impossible had 3,800.
I'm just going to say there were less screens, so I'm going to go with 2,700.
Fletcher?
1,200.
32.
What?
Not 3,200. 32 screens total. Memorial Day 1977. It expanded over the weekend to all of 43 screens. And then word of mouth, by the end of the summer, it was up to 1,700, but it took a minute.
Wow.
Yeah, 32 screens. That's how big the studio thought it was going to be. They were like, this is crap. By the way, it was also given a G rating. And Lucas was like, oh, no, it's got to be PG. We can't have that. Teenagers won't think it's cool if it's G. And so they slapped a PG on it because he and the studio begged them to not give them the dreaded G rating. There. Isn't that fascinating?
Think about how a movie like that, that movie, that franchise is a part of how we speak. It's a part of our verbiage.
Word of mouth,
everything.
Baby. Nothing beats word of mouth. It's that simple. Hey, tomorrow on the show, we're going to play WTF, Wisconsin, Texas, Florida. We're going to give away KQ Karaoke Cruise tickets.
Nice.
And Fletcher, you got what coming up next?
I have some KQ Karaoke Cruise tickets coming up right around 1:30. All you have to do is listen for a text keyword.
Get on that. Gorman in the morning. We'll be back tomorrow on Minnesota's 92 KQRS.
Gorman in the morning is also Gorman on the go. Get the 92 KQRS app and stream live or catch the Gorman in the morning podcast anytime. 92 KQRS.